to me, but it's because we had such an instant connection. And ironically, I was in a really tough place in my life when I reached out to her. And it was one of those days where, you know, when you don't feel like doing the work, and it's just so much easier to just not do it because you don't want to show up with like a fake face, meaning like you're having a really rough time. It's a tough day. But I always center myself, just like I did before this call, like what message needs to be shared today? How can I be the messenger for any type of inspiration or hope for people on the other end? And I don't come super planned and prepared a lot of the times when people ask me to speak, because I love seeing your faces and I want to know what you need today in order to move yourself into the best version of yourself. And, you know, I asked myself that day, like, why am I doing this? Why am I going to do these reach outs? Why am I going to go through the reports, reach out to the people that have cycled maybe once and maybe enrolled a couple of people? And I was like, because somebody gifted me that opportunity 5.5 years ago. And it's my obligation to carry on a vision that Jim and Kathy created for all of us, and the freedom of choice that I had that day. And that day was one of the days where my significant other had an 8-hour treatment after he was diagnosed with lymphoma, and I didn't want to do the work. And I prayed about it, and I intentionally just said, like, the message is one of hope, and who am I going to connect with today that could use this? And that's just, it's honestly the 2.0 version of myself, because the 1.0 version would have, like, honestly had a pity party in my bedroom, cried a lot, said, you know, this is not fair, and I don't feel like having conversations right now. But when I started to envision the life that I have today, and that obligation of being able to share this, it literally gets you out of whatever challenge you're in, and it creates an almost must for you to be able to serve other people. And it's so powerful to hear all of your stories, because so many people, unfortunately, take the pain in their life or unexpected events and don't use them for purpose. And all of you and all of your stories, from Sarah to Mama June to Laura and everybody else I'm going to meet on here, you know, you hear this story of resilience, or this story of understanding it is not fun to go through pain, but it is so powerful to be able to create a narrative and a story around traumas in our life, and be able to look for people that need hope and inspiration to say, I went through this, I got through it, and you can too. And that's really where we're at in this 2.0 version of not only ourselves, but our company. And the evolution, I believe, is not just timely, and it wasn't orchestrated to be released during COVID. No one knew this was going to happen. That's how powerful of a divine intervention I feel is at work here, for all the work this company went through to be able to birth literally a new evolution of not only our product, our company, our leadership. And what happened in the past year just simply made room. It made room for all of you that are ready to upgrade to the next level of who you want to be. And for my life 5.5 years ago, it looked a lot different than it does today, which is why I love to really share with you openly that I am not ahead of you in any way. I am on a parallel growth journey. I just may have more experience. That's truly how I look at it. I don't choose to lead with a leadership style that says this is, you know, on my badge and I know more than you, or I'm better in any way. And I choose to lead that way because I truly believe we always have something to learn. I always have something to learn. I'm going to learn something from all of you, most likely. And I think it's just a really powerful way to live this human experience. In fact, I was telling my significant other yesterday, I'm like, the more that I learn, the less qualified I feel to tell people what to do, like, truly. And I think the reason why is because the most beautiful part about pulling out human potential, or being a leader, and that means you're influencing somebody's life for the better, is that you give them a space to discover what is a fit for them. And most importantly, hear and see them in a way that says, I value you and appreciate you exactly where you're at. Everything that you've experienced in life gave you opportunity to learn and grow. And I'm here right beside you to help you become the best version of yourself. I don't know more, just maybe some of my life experience can influence you positively to maybe save yourself on some epic forward failures that I had in the past. And I love leading that way because it means that I never have to put pressure on myself to know everything, because we don't, especially in a time like right now. It literally leveled the playing field for every leader that exists in our world, because this has never happened before. It's new territory for everyone. And the challenges that we see are that instead of uniting through our stories of resilience with each other, we see a lot of divide. And that's something that not only transcends our globe, but communities. And if you think about cultivating community, it was my vision 5.5 years ago to be on Zooms like this that were not of my conception, that somebody else was going to take the torch and carry it on with their impact that they want to create. And that's the power of what we have here. There has never been a better business model built for leadership. I truly believe that. I was in the toughest place in my life, both personally and professionally, 5.5 years ago, retired as a chiropractor, knowing full well that that business model was never going to give me the family time that I was looking for. It wasn't going to give me the leverage and impact. It taught me so many things. It was the best experience to be able to say, you know, I chose prevention versus band-aiding all of the problems. I wanted to solve the healthcare crisis, not contribute to it. So it was a perfect profession for that, but the business model had a lot of challenges. And as a solo entrepreneur and somebody that was in a really unhealthy work environment in that practice, I chose to go out on my own and learned a lot from the weight loss and detox program I had in that office. And my bright idea, as very much a risk taker, an entrepreneurial mind, which always seriously gave my parents like close to heart attacks multiple times in their life. They just like talk about not being understood, Jen. I mean, that was my life. I grew up in literally small town North Dakota, where half of the people there were my cousins, and there was one stop sign, and only because there was a T in the road. So let's just say it's a little different than the experience I have every single day, but I was always the curious kid asking questions. I was always like, well, why do we believe this? Why do I have to not shine so bright? Why do I have to please everyone and not have a voice? It was very confusing and challenging, but I think my life plan that I had got seriously interrupted because of that. And it allowed me to be able to discover an authenticity within me that now I want to pass on to others, because there is nothing more freeing than living your authentic truth. And we only get one chance at this life. And on the other end of all the challenges of end of life conversations that I've had in the past year with my significant other, to my grandparents passing away, I look at the number of years that I wasted trying to please other people, trying to cover up parts of me that were so true to me, but I felt wouldn't be accepted by family, by small town, by my profession, by whatever, you know, relationships in my life. And once you start to get on the other side, and maybe some of you agree with me, because I now know why they say midlife crisis, although I feel like now it's quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, 3/4 life crisis, where you start, would you agree that a lot of things that have happened right now have you asking different questions about the meaning of your life? And it's not just what happens when we're gone. None of us know. That's the crazy part about it. None of us know. But I have a feeling this will completely change the way that we choose to live our lives. Why not live it with the most amount of meaning and purpose and fulfillment? Where did we ever think that, like Sarah said, the societal ticker is ticking away, so you better check mark the boxes, first of all, live in the box, and not ask any deeper questions about how to truly design your life. And having a daughter at 20 was very hard. I had to grow up really fast. I had to learn different skills at such a young age. I started graduate school when she was 3 months old. And the best lesson that I learned throughout that experience was what a lot of people struggle with starting this business, even as a product user, going through a new experience in your personal health transformation, redefining what food and fuel mean to you. We do not promote diet culture. We will never stand for diet culture here. We will never look at somebody and say, we can't wait for you to be your after picture. We're so happy that you're here, and we can't wait for you to grow as a human so that you can be in the best physical vessel to carry out a mission and vision here. That's how I see people coming in utilizing this nutrition for health and well-being. That's a completely different purpose for nutrition than the number on the scale. We do not promote that, and there's a reason why. And when I was starting to go through my own journey with that, I suddenly was looking at a baby girl, and I thought to myself, what kind of legacy do I want to leave for her in my relationship with food? And I struggled with that for a while, but I started to realize that my role modeling is going to be the most impact that I'm going to have on these girls. And I think when we look at a big picture of transformation, and for me, looking at graduate school and a doctorate with a 3-month-old was extremely intimidating, even for myself, who I really feel confident. If I set my mind to something, I'll do it. But I specifically remember the moment of realizing, full realization, what did you just do? And I think a lot of people have that full realization, whether it's you're starting a new journey in your nutrition, maybe you're going to start sharing and you told a leader that you're ready to share your story. And then you're like, holy, what did I just do? Now I'm going to have to be held accountable to that. I know I should probably share it so I can bless other people's lives, but okay, I'm going to have hives if I have to like go live or post, my story or share it with someone. I get that. It's overwhelming. And then maybe you're even digging deeper and saying, no, it's a must for me to never feel financially stressed again. And, I want to look at this residual income opportunity, but I'm really nervous about how it's going to look, how I'm going to look, how am I going to do this? Yes, Carolyn's like, exactly. And it seems so overwhelming when you picture this big vision of becoming a 2.0 version of yourself. But the best thing that happened to me during that time is I had to take it one day at a time, and sometimes an hour at a time. It was that overwhelming, and I was so scared of failing. And I know so many of us are, and that's okay. It's normal. We live with primal reptile brains every day that want to pull us back into safety and security. It's a part of literally who we are as a human. And once you understand that and kind of normalize that, wow, I feel fear. And every other human that I know feels the same thing. But there are certain humans that have conditioned their brain and trained it enough to almost dance with that feeling. And I like to dance with it. I like to know why it exists and kind of reverse engineer a process to say, why are you so scared? And how can you redefine how that feeling feels to you? And for me, when I start to redefine fear, it's out of a necessity of impacting other people's lives. And that's how I start to reroute my brain to say, you're scared, yeah, but somebody needs your message and your story. And you're nervous of the outcome, but messy action is the best way to create results because of how you learn and grow through it. And that's what I chose to do when she was 3 months old. And after getting out of chiropractic and into the online health coaching business, creating a couple of nutrition products, I saw behind the curtain of Oz in the diet industry and the supplement industry. And I saw ingredients being put into dog food or into products that shouldn't be in dog food, literally. I saw things that I would never, ever put my name behind. And I found myself sitting across from men that just said, push up your boobs and butt and sell fat burners online and you'll make a lot of money. And if you know me well, it was never going to be what I succumbed to, number one. 2, they didn't know who they were dealing with. 3, I was never, ever going to be the woman that would promote something that I couldn't put my name behind for integrity. And so I found myself 5.5 years ago at professional rock bottom, searching for a vehicle to be able to make a bigger impact. As a solo entrepreneur, that business was exhausting. Have you ever tried to do life and work alone? You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's so much harder to face your limiting beliefs than it is as a collective whole. And I found myself in a really unhealthy relationship because I validated my self-worth for so long by saying, you messed up, you had a baby at 20, you didn't do what was, normal in your small town. Now you're stuck because you're a single mom with 2 daughters from 2 different dads who will trust you, who will love you, and ultimately you're a failure. And it took a lot to start redefining that story. And at the end of the day, that's what we all have. Our 1.0 version of us comes with a lot of stories that we choose to tell ourselves every day. And most of them cap our potential in many areas. You think about well-being and how beautiful our new messaging is, from well-being physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, vocationally, relationally, spiritually. We have so many facets of well-being, yet diet touches on one of them. And the facets of well-being that have completely transformed my life have transcended simply a shake or a product. It transcends it because this community and culture is what it's about. The moment that a human can feel valued, seen, and heard, and appreciated, recognized, celebrated, empowered, encouraged, that is the moment that they can shine in their authenticity, no matter what their history has been, background has been, no matter how much pain has been in their life. The amount of people that I hear didn't have parents that breathed belief into them or told them that they could be, do, or have anything in life makes me feel like I need to be, I have to plug my computer in. I have to be partly parent to a lot of people so I can give them an experience of belief and confidence that they've never had before to transform their life. And 5.5 years ago, I made a decided, because we are humans that literally are full, our lives and the results of them are just mini tiny little decisions every day that compound to huge results. And when I started to take bite-sized pieces of transformation instead of look at the big picture, and my best friend Christy is on here, she's my soul sister. She has seen every version of me, so she can absolutely back up that I'm a completely different person today than I was 5.5 years ago. And all of you will be as well, but it can't happen overnight, and it won't. In fact, the days that you're most excited are going to be the most fleeting days that there are, because there's going to be a whole lot more hard, and the hard is going to happen between your 2 ears. Your self-talk, the caps you put on your potential, the stories you choose to tell yourself, and the ones that are actually subconscious that have been implanted there from years of what you've heard, from years that you didn't even know, from 7 and before that. Those are belief systems that may not even be yours. And they're there. And that's what's producing and creating the results in your life and the manifestation of what you believe is actually possible. So starting my journey of my 2.0 version to today, and I can truly say everything that I envisioned that I wanted to become, I have. And it was so flippin' hard. It was so hard. There has never been a harder workout. There's never been a harder nutrition plan to stick to. There's never been anything harder than working on the limiting beliefs in my head. And that's why I want to be transparent with you, because it's going to happen. You are going to literally find yourself excited for a period of time, and then suddenly you go back to either self-sabotaging behaviors or an old identity. And shifting your identity, becoming a person you're not, isn't easy, because in the reality of who I was 5.5 years ago, I did have failed relationships, a failed business, a bank account that I would literally cross my fingers when I logged into it to see what was there. I would have literally meltdowns in Wells Fargo parking lot. I would call my mom and say, how did I end up here? I care about people. I work hard. Why is this happening? And it was so purposeful, because those days are what built who I am. The result of the success of everything else pales in comparison to how proud I am of her. And I refer to myself in the past as her, because I watched her go through challenges and struggle through the limiting belief systems to create a new truth in the darkest of times and days when you're alone and no one's there to cheer you on. that's how life works. We are all here to cultivate community, but in those hours that you don't want to lean in and you want to dip out because you're fearful, those are the times that build who you become in your 2.0 version, the hard times. So I think the most amount of work that I did was around listing out limiting belief systems that I knew were producing the results that I did not want in my life. The most profound one, when I look back now, are the relationships of choice instead of default. I'm a retired people pleaser. I will take many accolades and cheers for that award because it is by far the most meaningful achievement of my life. Letting go of thinking that everyone was gonna like me and everyone was gonna believe what I believed and everyone was gonna be accepting of how I choose to live my life. And that's just never possible. And it is one of the hardest things that we go through as humans because we want to feel accepted, which is why cultivating community like this is so powerful, because you align with people that do see a similar vision, that share similar core values. And that was where I went wrong for so long. I just gave so much time and energy to unhealthy relationships that added zero value to my life, only caused distraction, challenge, whether it was personal or professional. And that was absolutely a must for me to be able to draw boundaries, choose relationships of choice and not default. And I think my money mindset was another one. It was such a challenging subject for me. And it took so much intention to try and create a new money mindset. I grew up in such scarcity where it was always literally an emotional feeling of there's never enough. And I don't know whose Zoom I was on, but I was sharing when I went home to see my parents, even just a few weeks ago, it was palpable, the energy that my dad brought into the house after he went down to the mailbox, which was what always happened as a kid. I knew exactly the time of the 1:00 p.m. was when he went to get the mail, came back home, opened it up, and there was always like silence and stress that just filled the room for what bill was going to be there that the farm could not pay. That's all I knew as a kid. And so money became scarce and it became an emotional stressor. I had a very unhealthy relationship with it. I wanted to avoid it. I didn't want to feel that emotion around it, but it kept repeating the pattern. And so when I started to change a 2.0 version of myself, I knew I could not, on my personal vision board, it can be on yours because remember, we're all unique humans that are driven by different things, but I could not put up things of just cars and commission checks and things that had no meaning to me. So I had to start redefining, one, the emotion and the relationship with money, and two, fully accept that abundance can be used as a tool for good. And I started to visualize, like, where would be the first charity that I would donate to? And like, what would that mean to me? What would it be like to be my own bank and never have to ask a man or a bank for money, and I could fund my dreams and my projects and future passion projects? What would it look like to show my girls that they can be financially independent? They can manage money. It's a powerful tool for good. What would it be like to have more life experiences with them than anything that I got to have as a kid because cows don't milk themselves? What would it look like to give my parents more than candles for Christmas? What would it look like to retire my mom? Those were the things that got me into massive action and unapologetic about creating more financial abundance for my girls and I. Because all I saw and heard was people that have money were greedy, or we'd go into the town closest to us and we'd go past the people that had money, and it was like, I wonder what it's like to live their life. Like, they can have that, but we'll never have that. It literally was intertwined as a story in my head that I had to start redefining. I also had to find role models that I could align with that were incredible humans, that were so abundant, but I knew they just circulated it on the planet. And it became this healthy relationship. I started to love it like I do my kids and my significant other and other things. I loved the experience of abundance because I could give it and it was no longer scarce. Does that make sense? And that's a powerful, powerful part of an evolution in your 2.0 version. Because what I see is when people look at this and they want to create, even if it's just $300 to $500 a month, because honestly, that's very freeing to the majority of people on our planet. If you've ever done relief work or volunteer work, or you really know what majority of our planet lives on $1 per day, you'll start to get out of your own head about money and creating more abundance to be able to help more people. And I see so many blocks in people's potential because of this block specifically. They literally don't let in opportunity. It doesn't circulate in the same way, and they find themselves stuck at a certain cycle per week because their brain has only had a conceptual story of how much is possible. And so really working on that so you can not only change your own financial thermostat, but also be able to help others change theirs. That's a powerful part of leadership, is role modeling that first. And 2.0 version is just, I ask myself daily when I do want to go back into like self-sabotaging behaviors. Some of mine, just to be really vulnerable with you, would be, I used to be super disorganized. Like I'm talking like hot mess express train coming through, choo-choo, like woo, through just Christy knows. And I'm very driven and ambitious, so I would get stuff done, but like, watch out, there was like a wake of craziness behind me. So my time management was just a mess. And the challenge with that, why it became a must for me to master my time, was because I was feeling guilty at work for not being with the girls. Then I was feeling guilty with the girls for not doing work. And I was in one or the other in my head constantly, or what else needs to get done. So it was chaos and overwhelm, and it became so debilitating to even be efficient. I'm like, this is not efficient. 2.0 version of me, she has mastered her time. She shows up to do work productively, and then she balances family time like a boss. Like she is intentional and she is focused on her girls and they love the experience with her. And that's what I would start to envision. And my self-sabotaging behavior of 1.0 DelRae will try and pull me back there. Like literally try and pull me back into chaos and not doing time management and being intentional about it. And you will start to feel that. You move into a new version of yourself in some area of your life. And then suddenly, a lot of times, something unexpected will come into your life to challenge you at every level. There's another devil, always. Ask Christy. I called her every time I was about to rank advance because something serious would happen. I'm like, well, it should be a good week next week because here we go. Here's another one to overcome. It happens to everyone. It doesn't matter what level of success you think people have. They're always going to revert back unless they're super intentional about becoming a new version. So I will remind myself, number one, what are my goals for 5 years from now? I want a team of literally the most inclusive, diverse team that Isagenix has ever seen, with 100 executives, and they will be creating executives themselves. That's just the start. And I personally want to redefine network marketing and the model of it, how it's messaged, how it's marketed, how high-level entrepreneurs will start to see how this business model has evolved. And if I'm going to do that, and that's my goal and vision for 5 years down the road, how do I need to operate in my daily habits in order to make that happen different from who I am today? So I'll ask myself that. Well, you need to have bolder conversations. I had 2 of them this week where I literally almost canceled because I wanted to throw up. I was so nervous. I could not even function in the morning. And they were 2 of the most successful chiropractors in the entire industry. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. You have nothing to lose. You're telling everybody else to level up. This is your level up for 5 years from now. So I have the same feeling. I just do it anyway. And so that DelRae 5 years from now, she does the do, because if she wants this to happen, she's got to show up as the 2.0 version. of herself. And so I want you to ask yourself that every day. How would Crystal executive Laura show up? Would she be engaging in this habit? Would she be Netflixing and chilling? Or would she be doing the conversations, the reach outs, the follow-ups? So it is honestly that simple and that complicated at the same time. Because if it was that simple, everyone would do it. But we, a lot of times, cannot conceptualize the future version of ourselves. Because the reality is you look in the mirror and you're like, yeah, but this is what I look like now. This is what I sound like now. This is, I don't know enough. Yeah, but this is the reality of my flippin' bank account, DelRae. Yeah, I know. I was there too. The difference is my unwavering, I'm talking unwavering, 1,000% belief and faith that this vehicle was going to free my girls and I, that moved me through fear and self-doubt. And belief is everything. Confidence in yourself comes from continually trying and celebrating every small win along the way. You have to be your own biggest cheerleader. You will not have somebody patting your back all hours of the day. And celebrate those small wins, because that's what moves you into a different version of yourself. And it can be ridiculous. Like I'm not even joking. After that call today, I was like, good job. Yeah, that was awesome. I celebrate myself all the time. The things that I say to myself, I have trained my brain to get out of fear and scarcity. And it is not about me. None of it. I want no recognition. I do not want to be alone in any of this. I want to see others shine so bright that they do better than me. They're more successful than me. They surpass my income. They go to the top of the company. One of you could be the top income earner in this company. How cool is that? Like, that's the type of vision. When you become that version of yourself, you give others permission to do the same. Never forget that. When you're nervous next time and you have fear or you're procrastinating, ask yourself who needs you today, because it has nothing to do with you. We had a leader that was so stuck. She was a teacher and her name is Wendy. She's awesome. And she called me and she's like, I don't know what is going on. Like, I am not getting the results that I want to see. Everybody else is going faster than me. And this is all like, lessons in number one, leadership, as well as an entrepreneur, because CEO mindset is much different than employee mindset. Employees, you go to work, you get paid for this task. You use a skill, task, you get paid. This is a completely different business model. You sow, reap. So reap. That is entrepreneurship 101. It's completely different. And then suddenly it flips. The same conversations you're having, it is reap, so. Reap, so. But that took me 13 years. So I want to be honest about being patient and marrying the process of progress. Get rid of the outcomes in your head and the expectations. And I told her that. I said, you see people going fast that have had 10 years of experience doing what they're doing. They didn't go fast. You just didn't see the 10 years before. So stop comparing yourself, stay in your own lane. And what are you so scared of? She's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say, all this stuff. I'm like, you know what to say? You're a teacher. You train people all the time. Is it like, what is the true block here? She doesn't feel she has influence because she's not confident. So of course people feel like that. If you're not confident and you don't believe in you, why would you ever think anybody else would? And so we checked her and her level of confidence. And I said, first of all, it's not about you. I don't know about you, but how would you feel if you were an admin or a teacher right now? If you were principal of a school, do you think that they're under just a little bit of stress right now? I mean, really, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to make some of these decisions. And I said, why wouldn't you serve that community? You're a teacher. They trust you. Share your story. Tell them your vision is to help as many people in admin right now, at least eliminate the challenges around stress and nourishing their body and energizing their body. Why not? She enrolled 5 people in the last few days because she got out of, I said, get out of your head and get into your heart and stop complicating it. And so suddenly she's just like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, I do. You have more confidence. You literally just went to go serve people. And you did so in fishing in your own pond where people are going to relate to you because you're a teacher. So I want you to think about that. You do not have to do this like everyone else. Your story is powerful enough to impact people's lives, especially right now. And your 2.0 version of you starts now. The decisions you make tonight before you go to bed, the ones you make tomorrow when you get up in the morning, the little tiny itty bitty ones, those are the ones that will compound to massive results 5 years down the road. Your 2.0 version will not happen in a week or a month or even a year. I see her and I know where she's going, and I'm proud of her for not quitting. Put yourself like outside of yourself for a minute and ask yourself when it's all said and done here, because we don't know when that day is going to be. My significant other's diagnosis taught me that. You just don't know. And I visualize now the moment that happens, or the few moments leading up to it. Will I have any regret? Any regret? And how many people will say, she made me feel this way. She changed the trajectory of my life. She did this for me. Do you remember that one time she did this? Do you remember that one time that is how I want you to think? Because we just don't know. And we waste so many hours, mindless hours, with our time passing. And so many people need you right now to be your 2.0 version of yourself. I can't do this alone. I don't have your story. I can't make an impact in people's lives that had the same pain that you had in your story. And that's why we'll do this together. We'll rise together. And I'm so proud of Jen, Laura, like just starting this, because the start is everything. The start is it. So many people, I talked to a chiropractor today, and I'll end with this. He's like, well, I don't know. I've had a plan and a vision of, going online and creating content and private labeling my own products and doing all this stuff. So I shared my story and I said, how's that plan working out? Have you taken action on it? A lot of us have great ideas. We have an incredible vision that we want for our lives and other people's lives, but it takes massive action. And action is messy. It's not going to always turn out with the outcome you desire. It's not, but it's worth it, because who you become overcoming each one of those minute fears develops you into the best 2.0 version of you. And then you give other people permission to do the same.
Wow. So incredible. Thank you so much, DelRae. We could just